All right, guys. So the Democratic team has been hitting the campaign trail hard, and they've decided to take the gloves off and be more aggressive against Trump and Vance and the Republicans. So Obama did a rally the other night. Eminem introduced him. He gave like less than 2-minute speech. But Obama comes out there, and I got some clips here for you. So let's start with this one. This is a line he keeps returning to. I know he's been on the campaign trail quite a bit lately. I should also point out, I think the reason he's doing this is because he did help Hillary a little bit, but she really didn't deploy him as the weapon that he is, right? And I think Kamala has learned from that and was like, I'm just going to send this guy anywhere and everywhere he's willing to go. So anyway, here's one of his comments that blew up.
I mean, and he's complaining 2, 3 in the morning. He's texting. What's he doing? When he's not complaining, he's trying to sell you stuff. Have you noticed that? Who does that? You're running for president and you're hawking merchandise. Gold sneakers, $100,000 watch. Supposed to be Swiss watch, he says. The best watch. Why are you selling the watch? What are you doing?
By the way, we have an answer to his question, right? Why are you selling the watch? There was a great article in Midas Touch about this that went through all of it. And it's basically a money laundering scheme, right? Because they're selling the watches. The watches didn't even exist yet. The watches don't exist. They said the picture is just for illustration purposes. And they said there's no time frame when your delivery will actually get to you if you order it. So the idea is it's a scheme where foreign governments and billionaires overseas can send Trump a tremendous amount of money, and he's just selling them watches, but you never deliver the watch, right? So we haven't answered that question. It's shady, corrupt bullshit is what it is. Shady, corrupt bullshit. And, you know, why is he trying to cash in? He's doing some crypto, but he didn't mention the crypto bullshit. He's doing some crypto bullshit, some NFT bullshit, some trading card bullshit, as he pointed out, the gold sneakers. He's got all this stuff going on. Why? Because he's scamming his own followers. That's why. Classic Trump. He's always done this. Trump University. The day that the Trump University thing happened, the scandal broke, it should have been the end of his campaign forever. He literally is just a con artist. He's a con artist. He called it a university. You can't just call something you do a university. Like it, you need it to be registered and licensed as such. And he did classic scam tactics of upselling, among others. And people sued him like, this was not as advertised, right? It wasn't. So he had to pay out millions of dollars over that. I mean, stiffed his own, his own workers who he hired to do the plumbing and the electric stuff in his casinos and his hotels and whatnot. I mean, this guy's a track record of doing stuff like that. So what's he doing? He's scamming people. That's what he's doing. Scamming people and trying to get a corrupt flow of money so that when he's president, he'll do the bidding of whoever gave him that money, right? But that's just one. Now we'll get to this one. Here we go.
As frustrating as politics can be sometimes, and I know it can be frustrating. Look, I do not watch cable news. I really don't. There are times where I don't understand how we got so toxic and just so divided and so bitter. And I get why sometimes people just don't want to pay attention to it. And we all have friends like that. We have family members who are just like, it's all a circus out there. I get that. But elections really do matter. Who you vote for matters. Not because it's going to change every problem we got. No president, no vice president, no senator, no governor is going to solve every problem. We're not going to eliminate poverty overnight. We're not going to change, race relations right away. We're born into history, and change takes time, and so sometimes I think we expect so much, and then we're disappointed when everything's not immediately solved, and we start thinking politics doesn't matter. But the thing is, what politics can do, what elections can do, they can make your life a little better, your neighbor's life a little better, or they can make it a little worse. And that little bit of better or a little bit of worse, that adds up. And sometimes I have to talk to people who don't think there's going to be a difference whether Kamala Harris or Donald Trump wins. And they're not bad people. They just don't think politics matters to their lives. And I have to remind them, the Affordable Care Act, it didn't eliminate all problems with health care, but there are 50 million people who got health care that didn't have it before.
Look, that's true. And that is a big difference between Democrats and Republicans. Now, I've been a critic of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, because it originally was a right-wing idea from the Heritage Foundation. It's called an individual mandate system. You make people buy insurance on the private market. Not the best way to reform healthcare at all, not even close. The part of it that was good was the Medicaid expansion, right? That part was phenomenal, protecting pre-existing conditions, allowing kids to stay on their parents' insurance until age 26. There are definitely good parts of it. But that's the thing is like, so the Democratic Party is incremental change, and the Republican Party is fuck you, get sick and die. Like Alan Grayson, the Democratic congressman, got in a lot of shit when he pointed that out on the floor of Congress a while back. But it's true. That's their position. Trump introduced a Trump Care bill, which had, I believe it was an 8 or 9% support rating in a poll. And the Trump Care bill made it so that they got rid of protections for pre-existing conditions. And this is as he was campaigning, pretending this protects your pre-existing conditions. I mean, under Trump, you want to know what happened? So he's pointing out under Democrats, 50 million people got health insurance. Now, there's still problems. It's still too expensive. There's issues associated with it. There's no doubt about it, right? But under Trump, 2 million people lost their health insurance. So the idea that there's no difference is just completely factually untrue. It just is. It just is, right? Now, if you're like me, you look at the advancements we've made and you go, you know what? At the very least, you got to do a full public option. But in reality, you should do single-payer Medicare for all, right? So I like a more idealistic politics, a more far-reaching politics, and I like a can-do attitude where they actually try to fight the corruption and get real shit done for people. But having said that, even if they're not that, the difference is 50 million people getting health insurance here, 2 million people losing it here. That's the difference. And it's just math. There is no arguing against it. The numbers are what they are.
There are more than 50 million people who had pre-existing conditions. And it used to be they couldn't get coverage. If you had a sick kid, with a chronic illness, you're a parent, you might not be able to get insurance for your child before the Affordable Care Act. And now you had to make a choice. Are you going to sell your house in order to get that child the care they need? Imagine that. You don't have to imagine it. That's what was going on. That's not true now because of elections, because of politics. It made a difference to them. Some people in this auditorium saw a concrete benefit in their lives.
They used to have this process for health insurance companies. It was called rescission. And the idea of rescission is, so you have a policy, you sign up for a policy, you're covered. But when you get sick and you submit a claim and you say, hey, can you, insurance company, pay for this thing that I have? They would have a whole team of people at the insurance company that go through it and try to find any excuse they can to not pay out on your claim. The classic example, we covered this back in the day. Somebody had acne when they were a teen, and then as they got older, they ended up getting skin cancer or something like that. And through the process of rescission, the insurance company said, we're not covering your treatment for your skin cancer. And it's like, why? Well, you had acne and you didn't tell us. And you say it's acne. We say you had previous cancerous skin lesions, and therefore you had a pre-existing condition, didn't tell us, we're getting rid of you. You're not getting covered. We're not paying for your treatment. That was commonplace. And Obamacare fixed that and fixed many other things, right? So it absolutely is a step in the right. It's not even close. And again, compare that to the Republicans. In a world that made sense, guys, this is what I'm trying to get across to you. In a world that made sense, the Democrats would be for single-payer Medicare for all, and the Republicans would be for the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. That would be the spectrum of reasonable thought, right? But instead, we live in this backwards world where corruption has taken over our politics, and like the Democrats are for the Affordable Care Act, and the Republicans are for, like I said, fuck you, die. So, and it sucks to be in that position where those are the options, but one is clearly superior.
Consequence of elections. I'll give you one more example. I know I'm going a little long here, but I want to really button this down. I'll give you another example. When I was president, last couple years in office, I took an interest in what scientists were saying, that with globalization and travel and growing populations, at some point, we were going to see a serious pandemic. So I did this back in 14, 15, 16. So I said to my team, we need to get a plan together, just like we have one for natural disasters. You have to practice. You have to have a sense of how are you going to respond if there's a flood, a hurricane, an earthquake. And I said we need to do the same thing with the pandemic. So we put together a playbook, and we consulted with all the experts, and then we had every agency talk about, all right, how are we going to work with the public health agencies in the states, and how are we going to deal with the schools? Do we keep them open? How long? What are we going to do in terms of developing vaccines? Had a whole playbook. put it all together, big thing. Then we did tabletop exercise with all the agencies. Let's practice how we're going to deal with this. So when Donald Trump comes into office, we gave him that playbook. And apparently it got dropped into a trash bin. And hold on a second. So 3 years later, a pandemic hits. Now, I want to be fair on this. I understand what I'm saying. No matter who was president, if I had been president, Hillary Clinton been president, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, it doesn't matter. This was going to be a problem. People were going to get sick. People were going to die. Businesses were going to shut down for a while. Travel was going to be restricted. It was something we hadn't seen since 1918, right? So it was going to be a challenge. But if you look at a country like Canada, their per capita death rate was 60% lower than the United States. Now, I want you to do the math. Let's say we lost more than 1 million people from COVID in the United States. 60% difference. That's 600,000 people. People's grandparents, people's parents, cousins, brothers, friends, co-workers. Most of you know somebody whose lives was touched. 60% might be alive if we had a capable, competent government that was paying attention. So if somebody tells you it does not make a difference whether you elect someone who's competent, somebody who cares about you, somebody who listens to experts and listens to ordinary people and knows what their lives are like and what they're going through, it makes a difference. It's going to make a difference to them, and it's going to make a difference to you.
I mean, he torched him, right? Because it's like very flawed adults versus idiot toddlers. People don't talk about that nearly as much as they should, that they dismantled like the pandemic, whatever the group was, and threw the playbook out. People don't talk about that. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's like thing number one of like, wow, you fucked this up as much as humanly possible. And the other point is, like, it's not just they're incompetent and they're bad at governance. It's also, even if they were good at governance, their ideology is incorrect and deleterious and nefarious and bad. So in other words, they've gotten worse, Scott. I just need everybody to understand that. The Republicans have gotten way, way worse as time has gone on. So for example, 48 Republicans voted against the Right to IVF Act. And Trump goes around pretending like he's the father of IVF and the Republicans are the party of IVF. Total lie. Total lie. You got people on the right now talking about banning no-fault divorce. You have people like J.D. Vance saying that wives should stay in literal, physically abusive marriages. I mean, think about that. That's absolutely disgusting. You have 36 senators who just a year or two ago voted against gay marriage. 36 Republican senators. 169 Republicans in the House voted against gay marriage a year or two ago. This was supposed to be a settled issue. Everybody was supposed to have matured to the point where it's like, yeah, equality's good. We should treat people with the same rights. Nope. Republicans, vast swaths of the Republican Party, elected Republican Party, were against that. 44 Republicans just voted against extending the child tax credit, even though it nearly reduced child poverty by 50%. Nearly cut child poverty in half. And 44 Republicans were like, let's not do that. I'm pro-child poverty. That's what I am. 51% of Republicans in the midterms in 2022 were on the record as being election deniers. And then, of course, you got Project 2025. I mean, and Republicans have said one of their top things on their legislative agenda is banning even blue states from doing free school breakfast and lunch for kids, taking the biggest W of Tim Walz and trying to ban it at the national level. They want to ban porn. They want to cut overtime pay. They want to roll back child labor laws. In fact, in many red states right now, they are rolling back child labor laws. They want to bring back the unitary executive theory, which is basically the idea of no checks and balances. The president gets to do whatever they want as long as that president is a Republican. Make them an emperor, overlord, god, king. Destroy the EPA. Destroy the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So this is what they want to do. So it's not just that they're incompetent and bad at governance. Even if they were good at governance, what I just listed for you is the shit they want to do. People don't want that. People do not want that. He absolutely torched Trump. And it's good that he's being deployed as much as he is, because he is absolutely a weapon and an asset for the Democrats in terms of campaigning. There's a reason he won in 2008 and then also in 2012, right? His governance, I don't think, is as good as his campaigning was. But the campaigning is, I mean, he's doing what he does. And as I've pointed out, if we'd never had term limits for the president, there would have never been a Trump era. Obama would have beat Trump in 2016. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.